What's up, jammies? Welcome back to another episode of Ricky's Ram Jam presented by Barefoot Wine. I hope everyone is feeling nice and relaxed and refreshed after that bye week off because the season is about to ramp up. We've got 2 home games in 5 days. First up, the Raiders at SoFi on Sunday, and then we've got the Vikings for Thursday night football. Can't wait to see you there for both games. Jammies, get your butts in those seats. Can't wait to see you there. We have so much fun stuff planned. I'll be joined later by DraftKings Mike Golic Jr. to talk all things Rams, but first, the coin toss. We hit again. Kyren rushed for a touchdown in his 8th consecutive game. What can this man not do? Also, let me pull this up. Shout out to Jason, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Sizak on Twitter, who tweeted at me last week and he said, Erica, Rams are way overdue for a defensive touchdown. Please lobby for that on Ricky's Ram Jam. Like, I mean, yeah, I would lobby for that. I wish I had that kind of power with the team. But they did it. And then, Jason, you tweeted at me again after Jalen McCullough's pick 6 and said, called it at Erica Tamposi. Let's get that shout out on the Ram Jam this week. So Jason, number 1 jammy of the week. Thank you so much. And thanks for hitting it with the coin toss. So we hit, and it was great that happened as well. So let's go to, let's go for this week. I want a Matthew Stafford rushing touchdown as option 1. So we're going to get down into the red zone and maybe Matthew's going to take it in himself. I'm going to lobby for that. So option 1, Matthew Stafford rushing touchdown. And option 2, will there be a blocked punt or kick? So for this week, we've got a blocked punt or kick or a Matthew Stafford rushing touchdown. Which one is it going to be, Jammies? Let me know. Joining me now is the co-host of the Gojo and Golic show for DraftKings, but you probably know him more for his love of candy. It's Mike Golic Jr. Is that like the best intro? Come on.
That is the best intro. It's my true passion in life. As someone that's now, I'd say, conservatively 3/4 of the way through the bag of candy corn that I just bought yesterday, it is an accurate reflection of who I am.
Now, I mean, before we get to football, this could be an impossible question, but like top 3 candy power rankings right now is candy corn, I think, is seasonal. So like if you don't need to include that, but like, do you have a top 3?
Yeah, I think generally where I fall, and for a long time, I gave the politically correct answer, which was, my number 1 spot was occupied by the Reese's Holiday Shapes. Mm-hmm. They are around in all seasons. They have a great peanut butter to chocolate ratio, all that stuff. But I've decided to live my truth lately and admit that the Reese's Fast Break Bar is not only the superior Reese's candy shape, but also I just think the best candy bar in the game right now. I used to say most underrated, but I realized I was selling them short. And so I put that number 1. I love a good Kit Kat bar. I think especially around Halloween, that was always one I coveted because even in the fun size, you're getting a pretty good dosage of the candy itself. And then I'll round it out. I've never been as much of like a fruit flavored candy guy. Like the Skittles and Sour Patch people are always a little upset with me. But I would also go Twix here. I think it's just a wonderful combination of textures inside one candy bar. Again, kind of like the Kit Kat, you get 2 in every pack you get except for the fun size. But the bigger size ones, you're getting a decent amount. There's that good crunch that goes along with it. So I think those are all 5 Tool players, really top 3 candies.
You are one of my favorite people on the planet because I don't give you questions ahead of time. Like you just gave me the most like you just broke down film of candy in the game right now on a whim, and you are incredible.
Buddy, listen, you don't got to get ready when you stay ready. If you just live life like this, we're in the middle of the NFL season, right? You could sit here and if anyone came up to you and talked about something, asked you a question about the Rams, you'd be able to go right off the dome because this is
That's
what
true.
You live. I am not just eating candy during Halloween season. Much to my doctor's dismay, I do this year round. And so my battle against the future of type 2 diabetes is going to be a war I have to wage my entire life because this is just what I love.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully it hasn't taken you out of the game. And this is how you know I'm a pro, Mike. So watch this transition. So, luckily it hasn't taken you out of the game. Someone who has been out of the game, missed last 3 games with an ankle injury is Cooper Kupp, but coming off the bye, see that weave there? That didn't really work, but the Rams are hopeful Cooper Kupp is back on Sunday. How does he change the dynamic of this offense, adding him back in?
Oh, I think it's you can't overstate the importance of Cooper Kupp. And it feels strange to still have to like remind people of that in 2024, considering everything he's accomplished, considering the relationship we've seen with him and Matthew Stafford in the past. But I just think when you look at this offense, there have been other great playmakers in here. I'm a Notre Dame guy, so I'm a huge Kyron Williams fan. And, he's someone that's become such a steady, dependable guy in that run game. But we know that this is a passing league first and foremost. And with Matthew Stafford, you want to be able to make use of how special that arm is. And to do that to the fullest extent, you need the guy that's the ace in your hole, the one in your room. You wound up, stumbling into one last year with Puka when Cooper was originally unavailable. But we've seen now with Puka on the shelf and Cooper out there, Tutu's done a great job. Demarcus Robinson, you and I talked about Jordan Whittington, I think at some point this offseason, but like, these are all guys that are quality players, but they're young. And I don't think right now any of them able to shoulder that load of the guy that Matthew can go to for a win no matter what in critical situations. And I was always a guy, I played college football as an offensive lineman. I was a middle of the pack guy. I was an average to above average player. And so being surrounded by great players like that makes the job of everybody else so much easier because you don't have to play outside of yourself anymore. Cooper Kupp is capable of doing all those extra special things just as a part of his game. And so to have him out there as that steadying force, I think makes the job easier for almost everybody on that offense.
Yeah, and you talk about that with besides the Arizona loss, the other 3 losses that the Rams have had have all been one possession games. And this Rams team is very young. Matthew Stafford, who did a great job in the Fox booth this weekend, very impressed with him. I thought he was very succinct with his answers. Sometimes people start to just fill the space there, but he did I was impressed as a fellow broadcaster. However, prefer to see him out on the field. But he did talk about how young this Rams team is. And how does a young team like the Rams find a way to close out these games?
Yeah, I think part of that is just, you get to a certain point in the season right now, and we're starting to get there. We're still, not quite the halfway mark yet, but a lot of these young guys, especially on offense, that were forced into duty before they probably should have been relative to skill level or anything else, now have the benefit of so much experience that getting a guy like Cooper back, who him and Matthew know how to finish. They've been to the mountaintop. They've finished at the ultimate level here. Now getting to see and be around what it takes. People always hear that phrase, learning how to win, and think it's cliche, but it's really just being around the daily habits of winners and seeing what it takes to go and do that, not just on Sundays, but the other, 6 days of the week where you're working towards those moments. And so I think that overall impact combined with, again, just, a guy that Matthew now can count on. Like, they've got that time together in those playmaking moments at the end of games. Everyone else is going to see what it's like for that ball to go through the basket and to have someone else they can rely on in those moments. And I just think getting those mental reps and seeing some of that external validation for the stuff they've already been preached. Sean knows how to do that stuff. Matthew knows how to do that stuff, but you can say it all you want, talk about it in practice. Seeing results, especially for young players, is that kind of external validation you need to make sure, okay, it reinforces this is why we're doing everything we do.
Totally. And Kyron Williams, continuing where he left off last season, 8 straight games with a rushing touchdown. To keep him the focal point of the Rams offense, and then to have the Cooper Kupp, and then to spread out this offense, I think is going to be imperative going forward. Let's do a little O-line talk. You're a resident O-lineman. They're going to have their hands full against Maxx, Crosby, and the Raiders on Sunday. How do you game plan for a guy like that? And can you?
You know what? Ironically enough, I think you saw a version of that actually for what the Raiders dealt with last week in TJ Watt on defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Raiders had their rookie tackle or young tackle, DJ Glaze, on the right side, not give up a pressure the entire game when matched up against TJ Watt. And I went back and looked at that and I was like, man, this is pretty impressive. I wonder what happened here. And it's a credit to the offensive game plan where they limited the amount of reps they were going to be one-on-one with TJ Watt. Now, they've got other great players on that defense. Cam Hayward's a great D lineman for that group. Like, there's plenty of guys to worry about there. Much the same way for the Rams, they're going to have to worry about multiple guys on that defensive front. but I always think you got to cut off the head of the snake first. And Maxx Crosby is the head of the snake. He's the face of that team, especially now with the departure of Davante Adams. And so I think it starts with a guy like Kyren Williams, who I think walked into the league and immediately became a top 3 pass protector at that position. And what he allows you to do in protection, because he is so savvy, because he is so dialed into the protection plan, coupled with Matthew as a veteran quarterback who understands the ball's got to come out a little bit quicker. I think you throw a lot at those guys, meaning, hey, you're going to line tight ends up wherever you see Maxx Crosby on his side of the formation so that you lengthen that edge for him. Hey, you're going to send Kyren Williams either over as full-blown help or at the very least chipping to release out the way that Maxx is coming from there, and just try and make sure that these guys that are so about motor, are such high intensity pass rushers, have a little bit extra to think about on each and every rep outside of just what's their plan, who's the guy that they're going up against. When you can get their eyes starting to dart around a little bit, I think that works out well. And I think, again, because of who the Rams have in that running back room, especially, they're uniquely adept at being able to do that before you get to all the stuff that Sean does as a play caller and Matthew does as a quarterback that help those guys out too.
Yeah, and switching over to the defense, the Rams' young pass rush has been impressive for the first 5 weeks. What has shown you when you look at this defense, and Jared Verse leads all rookies with 20 pressures, and Braden Fisk has been amazing. How do they continue to make a difference, especially against this Raiders offense?
Yeah, this Raiders offense that, has given up a fair amount of pressures, and you've seen guys on that front struggle with, I think, what these guys present, which is just dynamic athletes and energy all across the board. Like, you've got so many guys up on that group. The Florida State pair that's got all that time under task together, Kobe Turner continuing on what he built last season, Byron Young in kind of that same mode. You've got a lot of guys that you have to worry about. It's almost like in basketball, they called it the Ewing theory, when Patrick Ewing was out and all of a sudden you had to focus on a bunch of other guys instead of knowing, hey, all of this is going to come from one source. There might not be an Aaron Donald out there anymore, but now you got a bunch of different guys that can come at you from different angles. And so I think that group will get a lot of help from what's gone on in the reshuffling in the secondary in the last couple of weeks, going into some of the decisions they had to make. Guys like Kobe Durant, Jalen McCullough getting more time on that back end. I think if that group can start to get a lineup in there that they trust, build some continuity, pass rush and pass coverage are always working in tandem. And so the more help and relief they can get on the back end, the second longer a quarterback's got to hold things. And I think this Raiders team presents a really good opportunity for that. They're down their number 1 receiving option this week. They just made a quarterback change with Aiden O'Connell going in there. Everything is kind of aligning for the Rams defense to have a get-right game, especially on that back end.
So, Mike, before I let you go, I wanted to do a segment. There's this trend going around called the Hear Me Out cake, and I know you're familiar with it, right?
Yes, I am.
I mean, it has cake in the name, so I figured, what better guy to do this with than you. But in this trend, for those that don't know, it's you're putting a stick with a picture on it in a cake. So you're basically planting your flag about people that normally you think are attractive that maybe the norm wouldn't. But I think that we could do it maybe like a virtual cake on some players that we think could make an impact this week. So like a Rams appropriate Hear Me Out cake. So I will throw out one first. I think for my first Hear Me Out cake, I am going to stick Blake Corum in the cake. Kyren Williams, we've talked about it, is a beast, has a rushing touchdown in 8 consecutive games. But the rookie ran tough against Green Bay, 5 carries for 25 yards. I see more carries coming from Blake with this running back tandem. And maybe you add in Ronnie Rivers with that, but I'm going to plant my Blake Corum. Hear me out. I think he can make a difference this weekend.
All right, there we go. I like that one. He was a guy, as soon as they drafted him, I was like, okay, Sean has a type now. Like, he just wants these little sawed-off shotguns that are used to running downhill in these inside zone duo offenses that want to raise hell. I like that one there. We talked about the pass protection, including a lot of different guys in here, but I'll go Alaric Jackson on the left side here as we talk about the exterior players. We know how much the Rams missed him, and he's gone for the first couple of games of the season, and so I think he's going to go a long way in trying to steady that ship against a pass rusher the caliber of Maxx Crosby.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to hear me out. Davis Allen. The tight end's been dealing with a back injury the last few weeks, but he's expected to play. I see him coming with a bigger role. He's been playing alongside our other tight end, Colby Parkinson, but these two create a nice 1-2 pass punch. And Matthew Stafford has shown that he feels pretty comfortable throwing to Davis Allen. Great hands and dangerous after the catch. He could be an end zone threat this weekend. Hear me out.
All right. I like that. It's a good hear me out. For mine, I'll go. We were talking about the Rams secondary a little bit before. And I think, what was it, last weekend, Josh Wallace moved inside to that star role a little bit with some of the guys moving around in the secondary, ended up playing a decent amount of snaps for them. And you talked about it before. This Las Vegas offense now runs through their tight end more often than not in Brock Bowers. And so that star role, along with the rest of that safety group on the back end, going to have their hands full with him. So I'll say he keeps the trajectory going in a positive direction as Sean McVay and company kind of settle in on a group that they can be comfortable with.
Yeah, it's a pretty good cake. I mean, I know I'm biased, but I think that's a pretty good Rams cake.
I'm just all of this has made me so hungry now. And during the week, I try and eat a little bit better so I can enjoy the fun stuff on the weekend. But now I'm just going to be digging right back into the candy corn. And now I might even have to go find a cake that I can put the little candy corns in on top. I don't know if it works texturally, but in my brain, it makes a lot of sense right now.
It does, actually. It does make sense. Mike, Ram Jam, before, we end the show, I ask my guests the same 3 questions, rapid fire-ish style. Describe your perfect day, start to finish.
Ooh, my perfect day start to finish. Okay. My perfect day starts getting up early enough, but not too early, maybe in the 7:30, 8 o'clock range here. Immediately, iced coffee's in my hand, maybe like a yogurt parfait or something like that as a little base layer. And then we're walking down to the beach, take a little bit of stroll down there, pet some other people's dogs, break a little bit of a sweat, get my mind right for the rest of the day. Hopefully the sun has come up or is coming up by this point, depending on the time of year. From there, I think we go back home and we get a nice lunch. For me, it would be breakfast for lunch. I want to go breakfast burritos since I've moved to California. I don't know if I've gone more than 2 days without one there. From there, the perfect day post lunch. You know what? I'll get a nap in for sure. I'll catch up on some Love is Blind. I'm a little behind on season 7 right now, but very much enjoying it so far. So get caught up on a little bit of that. And then I think from there, the ideal day would probably be spent doing a little bit of gaming. I've gotten the PlayStation back again. I'm really bad at the EA Sports college football game, so I've got to put in some more man hours to try and improve myself on there. And I'd say in the afternoon, evening, get together with some friends, maybe go see a concert or to a movie, something like that, and then finish off the evening probably with a trip to 7-Eleven. Have to go get some sort of candy, do a review from my car, put that up on Twitter, receive all the likes and external validation I could possibly need before I settle in on the couch and, either I'm going to try and get back into reading now as the season goes along here. I let that go in the off season. Love a good book, but if I'm not going to do that, then we'll probably dive in and catch whatever football game is on TV. Because right now we're in that beautiful stretch where I don't think we go a day without a football game for another 40 some odd days or something ridiculous like that. So I'll make sure that football is firmly involved in that process. So breakfast burritos, walks, petting other people's dogs, video games, football, and a little bit of friendship.
And a little bit of candy sprinkled on top. That's exactly that. I love that day. And if you ever get to do that day, I would love to be involved. That sounds amazing. Which celebrity would you like to switch lives for a day?
Ooh.
Take their whole day.
Yeah, just for a day. See, it's tough for this one because I was tempted to do the obvious answer for me. A lot of people think, Mike to be Taylor Swift for a day would be pretty great. But I think I'd want to do LeBron James for a day just to get to be a freak athlete too. I've been around sports for so much of my life, but I've never been what anyone would consider a freak athlete. And so to just be able to go and do all the things that he does, even at 40 years old, that he kind of takes for granted. I was able to dunk for a week when I was in high school, and that was it. So to just be able to do that whenever I felt like it would be pretty cool, and to be rich. I'm sure he drives around in a pretty nice car. I could probably get the private jet gassed up to go somewhere for a day. So totally. I think I would probably go LeBron James. That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. I think I know the answer to this, but iced coffee on a snowy day or hot coffee in a heat wave?
Oh, I am, and shout out to my brother Randy Scott over at ESPN on this one. I am iced coffee in all seasons, firmly. And I know I don't get tested on that much out in Los Angeles, but even back when I lived in Connecticut, I was an iced coffee in the middle of a snowstorm kind of guy. It is, to me, the best consumption method. I can get more coffee into my bloodstream faster than with its hot counterpart. So to me, this is a complete no-brainer.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time today and insight as always. And Jammies, make sure you're following him everywhere because humble brag, he's the best follow ever.
Very kind. I appreciate you. I'm playing for second place with you as always. Thank you for having me. This is a ton of fun.
Ton of fun is right whenever Mike Golic Jr. is involved. So make sure you go check out his stuff like I was just saying. Thanks again, Mike, for hanging out. Thanks, Jammies, for you for hanging out. And we're excited to see you at SoFi on Sunday against the Raiders. You guys know what to do. Let's ram it.